welcome everybody. Just grab control here. As Dan mentioned, we're just going to talk about scoring the hat trick. And most of you probably know Dan. I don't know if many of you know myself. I was also born in Canada. We're big hockey fans, and when we think of things, we always try to draw an analogy with hockey. You know, it just all of a sudden things make more sense to us when hockey's involved. That and beer as well. But just so you know who we are, if you don't know us, Dan, do you want to make a quick intro? I know that you're one of the top names in my mind, anyways, when it comes to the MSP channel and when it comes to security. So I know you don't like to pat yourself on the back too much, but just this one time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Andrew. So as a quick introduction, and I'll reiterate what Andrew said, despite not a single Canadian team making it to the NHL playoffs this year, which is a bit of a national embarrassment on our part, we are big hockey fans and also pretty involved in security in the IT industry. So we're looking forward to today's presentation with you. My name is Dan Wensley. I'm the president of PassPortal, which is a password management solution built by an MSP for MSPs. And I look forward to sharing with you some of the best practices around security and password management, both for the MSP and for your clients. And I'll just maybe take a second. What's really interesting here is both Andrew, as the CEO and founder of MyDigitalShield, and Colin Knox, our founder and CEO at PassPortal, have been involved in CompTIA on the Security Executive Council. And a lot of the conversations that we've had as two organizations have spawned from that relationship and spending time in that Executive Council. And over the last number of weeks, months, and almost a year, it's become very obvious to us how the two technologies are so synergistic and providing such value to the MSP. So we really look forward to doing this presentation with Andrew and the MyDigitalShield team, and look forward to getting started. Andrew, over to you.
Thank you, Dan. My background, as Dan kind of alluded to, I've been in security for quite some time, and I have worked on a different segment of security, though. I've been very involved with the telcos and carriers and service providers. I've worked really closely with MSSPs, and one of my passions is hey, how do we make sure that everybody has access to the stuff that we're doing? One of the biggest things that bugged me is everybody kept trying to make security this thing that's unattainable, that's out there. So one of our missions, and especially today, is to kind of show, look, it doesn't require a ton of this unattainable stuff in order to start out with cybersecurity or take it to the next level. If you look at what the breaches are out there, you look at what's going on out there. If you take some simple steps, and we feel that with this hat trick, there's 3 steps. You can score 3 goals over here, and you could go a big ways in protecting your customers and being a security expert to your customers. And that's really our goal today, is just to show that where you could dive in and score that hat trick and take it a long ways to finish the game. So some of the things that we'll go over here is we're talking a little bit about the types of breaches out there, and I'm sure you guys see this a lot, and you see what goes on out there, and we really try to kind of simplify this down and show you that you could categorize things in just a couple of categories. And if you take those things and start to prevent them or start to protect against those, it'll really take things a long ways. And we're going to talk about the MSP security needs and what MyDigitalShield and PassPortal has to offer to fulfill those needs, specifically around the MSP and to prevent those type of breaches. And then we're going to talk about the hat trick, the third part, and that's where you guys come in. Because at the end of the day, we're nothing without you guys, right? We're a piece of technology that it needs to be used effectively for the customers, and that's the biggest part and the biggest role in this whole piece. So Dan, do you want to start out here and talk a little bit about PassPortal, and then we'll come there?
Yeah. So just a little overview. Again, I think as Andrew said, folks, we've got 2 excellent solutions that are really low cost and high value to you as an MSP. As a quick introduction to PassPortal, we are a cloud-based identity and password management solution used by MSPs to really drive 3 fundamental attributes. The first one is to lower your current service delivery costs. There are ways to manage passwords that can actually operationally affect you in a very positive way. The second thing we obviously accomplish is the security of passwords. And we're going to talk a lot about the breach, the security vulnerability that many MSPs face on how passwords are being managed and used today. And last but not least, how to deliver password management as a new value-added service for your business, either to round out a security practice, to add to what we call, the precious metal solutions, your platinum solutions and managed services that you deliver to your client, and add password management as a new differentiated service into your business. So I'm going to look forward to sharing some statistics with you and talk about those three themes as we move forward.
Yeah, those are very important themes, especially in my mind when I think about security. It's always been that never-ending problem. It's like, let's make passwords complex. Then the users start writing them down, right? It's like, okay, maybe we don't need to write them down. Then they start making them too simple, right? And on top of that, it's like, how do you tell the users don't give out your passwords to anybody? Because there's videos on YouTube of people going around saying, hey, what's your password? And people will actually tell them what their password is. So it's that whole piece in itself is such a nightmare in my mind, when it comes to you guys trying to manage your customers and trying to make sure that whoever is logging in with this authentication is really that person, and it's not somebody who stole the credentials or brute forced the credentials or anything like that. And on the other side, so what MyDigitalShield provides the network layer or the gateway or perimeter security. So besides passwords being given away or passwords being stolen in some way, there's always the aspect of when a user is logged in properly into a system, what they see is something that shouldn't be seen by others. But because of all of these advanced threats that are out there, hackers can sneak pieces of malware and viruses on a system that, as the user logs in and views all this data, they can capture it and send it off somewhere. And that's where you see the black market and all of this data, like customer information and patient records and credit card information being stolen all the time, is whenever they sneak in some malware or something. And for example, a point of sale system is a common one that's been going on for the last few years, where you heard about the Home Depots and PF Chains and Targets of the world, where there was malware that went on a point of sale system and everything was done properly, but that malware was capturing all the data as that stuff was being done properly and being sent off somewhere. And that's where all those records got stolen. So, and it stems up further. And this is where MyDigitalShield comes in, is that technology piece that prevents those things from happening on many levels. And at the end of the day, it's really a unified threat management. It provides all the components that are supposed to be at the gateway there. So I'll get started here. So traditionally, if we take a look back at security, and specifically around perimeter security, the bad guys, they try to hack into us, and we put up a firewall, and everybody was happy. The world was safe once again. Until the next day, hackers found a way around that, and we had to put up another technology. And they found a way around that, and we had to put up another technology. And it seems like over the last 15 to 20 years, this went on and on and on. And it seems like it's never ending. Every year, there's this new thing that you have to deploy, otherwise your customers are going to be unsafe and unsecure. And the story continues. So what this does is this creates this problem that I call the cybersecurity trichotomy. And what that is because you have to deploy all the stuff, now companies unify this, called Unified Threat Management, and they give you this piece of hardware that you deploy at the perimeter. So it creates this, especially in the SMB segment, it creates this thing called the trichotomy. What that means is because there's so much inspection that needs to be done, it's like take your pick. You can pick one of three, maybe you can have two, right? And it's either you can have low cost, you can have adequate security, or you can have high performance. Right? And unfortunately, in the SMB space, the biggest driver is cost, because people can't spend money on things like security because that's not something that brings them revenue. And when it comes to perimeter, you have this problem right here where pretty much every router now has a sticker that says we do security on it, and because they have a basic firewall, right? But at the end of the day, if their threat intelligence is being pulled from public sources. And they say they do UTM. If they don't have a good quality security footprint, then they let a lot of threats through. And this is why the amount of threats out there is just ridiculous. When you look at it, there's a reported breach every minute, and you think, oh, those are the ones reported. Think about over the years, how many breaches have you reported? Do you report every time your customer gets crypto wall or any other kind of virus? Probably not. So when you think about the actual breaches out there, it's probably more by the second. And it's a major problem out there that's happening in the SMB space. The other option is, security is important, right? But cost is still also important. So what we see a lot of is good security solutions being deployed, but now you have bandwidth problems because so much inspection needs to happen on this piece of hardware. It really slows things down drastically. And the problem is because so many new variants are released every day. If you bought a piece of hardware that is adequate today, let's say your customer has 80 meg, and this box does 80 meg of unified threat management, well, 6 months from now, every day this thing gets new signatures, gets updated with the latest threats. Over time, it gets slower and slower and slower. Meanwhile, the bandwidth demands are going higher and higher and higher. So this is another major problem in the trichotomy. And the third, of course, is the cost. Now, upping the cost is usually not an option, especially in the SMB space. This is something more that the larger enterprises, the Fortune 500, can deal with, but not in the SMB space because they're not willing to pay $100,000 for something that's going to perform extremely well. So this leaves us at this uncomfortable stage, right? And this is so this is the stat I brought up before. 81% of the reported breaches, not all the breaches, but actual reported ones, are in the SMB space, right? So you think about all the ones that are actually in the SMB space, and 97% of all of the breaches could have been prevented with technology that's available in the market. Not 0 days, not anything that's been worked around through social engineering, but something that could have been prevented with stuff available. So that goes to show you that the stuff we have out there, it's not deployed properly. It's not attainable. The technology is not available to everyone for some reason, because otherwise this 97 should have been at 0. And this is kind of the problem we're trying to solve out there. So what do we do? So everybody keeps saying the perimeter has moved, but when we look at the perimeter as a whole when it comes to security, nobody has moved the perimeter. It's still a box there on the prem, right? So what MyDigitalShield did, instead of giving you yet another piece of hardware, another piece of software, another piece of technology, and saying, hey, deploy this at your customer's prem, instead what we did is we built out a cloud platform with all the technologies up in our deployed, and we say, hey, look, why don't you just build a tunnel up to our cloud and run everything through there, and there we apply all the latest technologies, right? So now instead of deploying more and more stuff over here, everything is being done as a service, but you never have to worry about what's the latest shiny security tool, because it's being deployed automatically up here. And we use the best threat intelligence up here to give you all the proper protection possible. So also talking about the perimeter has moved, why is that important? So think about remote offices, right? Because the perimeter is up across multiple data centers in our cloud, now you can have, behind that same perimeter, behind that same protection, you can have remote offices as well, being protected the same way as the corporate offices, and they can have communication between each other via a natural VPN. It's just a natural network that happens between them. And as we continue on, think about mobile devices as well, laptops and cell phones. As they leave from the company, from the network of the company, and they go out there and the agent realizes that, hey, I'm on the naked internet, well, it automatically creates a tunnel, keeping them under that same perimeter, keeping them protected the same way, with the same policies, and again, access back to the corporation. And as we build out this network across the existing resilient internet out there, we're building a new secure network that's at the new perimeter up there. So no matter where you go, you virtually have that same perimeter that you can connect to from anywhere, really from any type of connection. Because it doesn't take a lot of intelligence on the prem. The prem side is very dumb, really. All you need to know how to do is to create that tunnel and connect. And all of the intelligence, all of the inspection is up there. So at the end of the day, I really feel that security right now is at the stage where water was a long time ago. And in some countries today, right? If you want clean water, go to the river with a bucket. You have to boil it. Maybe you have to distill it, and maybe even have to use some chemicals to get rid of the bacteria of the smut, right? Well, I feel that security is kind of the same way. But sorry, stepping back. Today in the United States and in Canada, if you want clean water, just turn on the tap. We don't even think about it. We just pay for the utility monthly, and it's being cleaned somewhere centrally with all the best processes that there is to clean water, and it's delivered already clean to us without any of the bacteria, without any of the garbage that's in there. And it's just a monthly service. It's just a natural thing to us. We don't even think about it anymore. Electricity, nobody deploys generators that are steam powered at their homes or businesses anymore. We just plug it into the grid, and it's being generated somewhere centrally, right? And I feel the internet right now, in order to get clean internet, it's kind of at that stage where you have to deploy all the software, you have to deploy all of this different hardwares and technology in order to get your internet to be clean, because we're doing it all at the perimeter on the prem. And this is where MyDigitalShield is different. We're trying to deliver the internet already clean for you, because we're doing it centrally with the best solutions that are out there, the best technologies that are out there, and all for a low monthly service fee. And it takes the headache off of you guys. You don't have to constantly go out there at a customer call because somebody got breached. It makes you guys more effective because you're thinking about different things around your business and how you can provide more service to your customer instead of always being reactive on Sally clicked on something again. So just a quick overview of how we connect to our cloud. So there's two ways to get the traffic to our cloud when you buy an MPS subscription. The first way is bring your own gateway. So there's a list of pre-certified gateways to where whenever you purchase it, you say, hey, I have this type of router, and it'll give you a configuration that you plug in that router. And when you do that, it'll create the tunnel for you automatically. The second way is if you don't have a router doesn't support IPsec or GRE, we can send you a simple box, a simple gateway. And this box has nothing except phone home, create a tunnel bound, and it also does Wi-Fi. And the reason for this thing is those situations like you have a customer that's small, that just has a cable modem, has no router, no gateway. Well, you can plug this thing right into their cable modem, and it'll phone home, create the tunnel, and it'll also give them Wi-Fi so that you can disable the Wi-Fi on their cable modem. Now, so I'm sure there might be some questions of, so what happens up there in the cloud? You know, what is this magic up there? And we put together this kind of explanation of the way we do stuff without getting too much into the technical weeds. We do this thing called shades of gray. So in the security world, there's always been this kind of challenge with anomaly detection versus signature. And both have their pluses and minuses. So signature is kind of more of a dominant one out there because it detects all of the known threats out there. The problem is keeping up the threats, right? The benefit is there's no false positive. The negative is that you cannot detect 0 days. You can only detect what you know. On the other side, you have the anomaly-based detection, which it could find the 0-day threats out there because it's detecting anything that's outside the norm. But at the same time, it could also drop legitimate traffic. So it's like, which one of these do you deploy? They both have their pluses and minuses. So what MTS did is we build out a cloud platform that integrates both of them. And what we do is we look at the client and the destination reputation. So here's some examples. For instance, if Sally, who is well-trained, doesn't click on links, doesn't download stuff, is going out to Bank of America, we're going to send her through the lightest shade of gray. And what that means is we just apply the signature-based UTM stuff out there. So all of the things you can imagine, IPS, web filtering, anti-malware, DLP, application control, and everything else. It's all signature-based stuff, so there's no false positives. We don't break this. We don't do deep SSL inspection on here because we trust Bank of America and we trust Sally. So that's a light shade of gray connection. In the middle there, you see Jimmy. Jimmy, he's going to check out my website.ru. Now, that could be legitimate, but it sounds very, very shady. So he's a much darker shade of gray over here, which means that, hey, if there is SSL, we're going to do deep SSL inspection, look at the payload, make sure there's no malware in there. We're always also going to apply all of the signature-based stuff to make sure that there's nothing in there that's a no threat. But then we send them through the heuristics engine or the anomaly engine to look at any zero-day type stuff, right? And the darker the shade of gray, the more of this anomaly and heuristics type of technology we apply to there. It gives more of a chance of a false positive, but the reputation is getting worse and worse, but the chance of it being a threat is more and more likely. And of course, on the other side of it, you have Johnny over here who constantly clicks on stuff, goes everywhere, downloads free stuff. And let's say he's going out to North Korea or a known command and control server or a known botnet server. Well, in that case, we don't even need to inspect it with all this thief stuff. We know where the destination is bad. We just auto shun the traffic. We drop it. So this is kind of like the MTS cloud, the magic that happens underneath the covers behind the scenes there. And the threat intelligence that we get, it's not, there's a big difference in the threat intelligence out there. It's one of these things that's the most valuable for companies that are learning threat intelligence and providing UTM services. So what we did is we went out and looked at comparison, which ones are some of the best ones, and we actually pay and license for some of the top threat intelligence out there, including FortiGuard is a primary one, and Threat Connect, and some other ones out there, to make sure that we deliver all of the known up-to-date threat intelligence and the protection out there. So, Dan, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and I'm sure I complicated it enough for everybody that people will probably have questions. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to prevent is the portion of malware sneaking out your system, somebody hacking in, and without anybody knowing, stealing data, stealing authentication, or using really the authentication of somebody already logged in, somebody properly authenticated.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yep.
And we're going to share, guys, a lot of the synergies on why we see MyDigitalShield and PassPortal as such great two solutions for your MSP and extend out to your clients. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the statistics about the information already residing inside your environment and some of the security threats that we face as MSPs today. And although the formatting is off a little bit on some of these slides, as I can see, the data is no less relevant. The first thing we're going to do is talk about if you've ever had a technician leave your organization. So if we look at us as an MSP, we're always talking about the solutions, the security, and the services we are delivering to our customers. But let's for a second take a look internally as an MSP and how secure are we internally? When 89% of ex-employees admit to having retained access to at least one application from a former employer, 49% of ex-employees admit to having logged into an account after leaving the company, with 70% of users completely forgetting their password once or twice over the course of the year, and 19% of workers admitting to share passwords both personally and professionally. And what's really interesting about this stat is that after an IT security policy has been put in place. Some of the statistics around the end user environment are even more telling, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. You can advance the slide for me, Andrew. I appreciate it. I don't think I have control now. So one of our partners, CMIT Solutions, does an annual small business survey. And last year, they surveyed 130,000 SMBs. And they were asked...
Sorry, I accidentally made you the presenter instead of giving you controls. Stu, can you... I'll give you presenter rights here.
I will.
I apologize for that.
That's all right. I'm just not sure whether I should click X. You're not ready, X in the top. There we go. So as we pull that back up for you guys, so the statistics are really telling in the end user environment. So we talked a little bit about MSPs themselves and the technicians leaving your organization who may still have access to passwords that you're responsible for. In the end user community, it's even more stellar. We trademarked the tagline, the end of sticky note security. And although the majority, if not all, MSPs do not use sticky notes as a way to pass passwords back and forth, we do know that end users use it a lot. And when CMIT surveyed 130,000 SMBs and asked them what password management solution they use, 88% said they do not use any type of solution. 64% of them saying none or don't know. 17% said they use Excel spreadsheets, which frankly many MSPs do under a secure lock and key. 6% admitted to using the exact same password for all applications across their entire business. The password complexity was so hard to try to keep them up, to try to have different passwords, that their policy is to keep the exact same password for all applications. And what shocked us and made our trademark of the end of sticky note security even more relevant is 5% of respondents literally stated they use sticky notes as a password security solution. What is interesting, however, is 12% do use a known password solution. What we do know is that none of that 12% have been delivered by an MSP, and this is why PassPortal is doing so well inside the industry as the only brandable and resellable password management solution in the market today. And why is that? And I'll just click one time for me, Andrew. The reason is our founder, Colin Knox. Colin, a lot like you, founded an MSP back in 2009. He grew that MSP business from a one-man shop to a 22-employee, $4 million in revenue organization. He built it just like you did, ran an MSP, ran the traditional PSAs and the RMMs. And what happened is one day he had a technician leave his organization. The technician you see in the bottom left-hand corner there is not the technician who left, but he is actually with PassPortal now. But he was the head technician at Excel Professional Services. And both Colin and Justin knew firsthand the vulnerability they had left their business and their clients' businesses in when that one rogue technician left their organization. And thanks to their PSA, or because of their PSA, they were able to track the time the ticket took to close all of the loopholes and change all of the passwords that that technician may have known. That spawned an obvious idea for Colin. The fact that an MSP needs to securely manage passwords and be able to both properly identify password usage by technicians and eliminate password usage by technicians upon their departure. And after much searching of a lot of the solutions that are still in the market today, both consumer-grade solutions or enterprise-class solutions, Colin determined that there was no other product in the market that was going to solidify his needs as an MSP. So there was a bunch of reasons for that. You can go ahead one slide. Much like you, Excel and other MSPs, you know, we've come a long way with password management. But password management traditionally for us and frankly for our end users has all been about ease of use, not necessarily security. We started to put them into Excel spreadsheets. We started to apply them into our PSA solutions. We did, you know, RMMs came along and added some new functionality for storage and access of passwords. But ultimately, passwords were still ending up on sticky notes. Technicians needing password access in the field. And it really doesn't address a lot of the issues we face as an MSP. Password timeouts, access from the field, security. Who should have access to certain passwords? How we're wasting time looking for the right passwords if we haven't updated it in our Excel or managed services applications. What about encryption? What about tracking and auditing? What about straight frustration for both your technicians and your customers as they have to reset passwords and go through that functionality? So Colin sat down on the next slide here and said, this needs to be simple. When we receive a ticket, we need to be able to one-click authenticate that password, and my technicians need to be able to do their job. What was also now seen is that by doing this, we could lower the cost for an MSP as an operation. We can lower your service delivery costs, lower frustration, and streamline ticket operation. We can also dramatically improve the security of the MSP. And when you increase the security of the MSP, you're extending that security footprint out to your end users. You are responsible for hundreds, if not thousands of passwords for access into the applications and their network. If you're not securing their passwords, you're not providing them security, which is the cornerstone of many of our businesses. So on the next slide, what PassPortal does is it delivers to an MSP improved security and operational efficiency. What we also do is we are the first and only brandable and resellable password management solution on the market that you can provide to your clients. PassPortal is a cloud-based application with military-grade protection and all of the integrations that you would need and want and desire from running your MSP, AutoTask, ConnectWise, and TigerPaw. So if we look at how we're managing passwords today versus what these three pillars provide to us, the fact that we're storing passwords fully encrypted in the cloud under military-grade protection data centers and integrated into the PSA without potentially having the security risk of being just logged into a PSA as a repository for our passwords. So on the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about how we actually provide those two things of lowering costs and improving security. Lowering costs through mobile access, bookmarks, global search, your PSA integration, multi-domain Active Directory control, and automated password changes. These are all now automated solutions that help you lower costs as an MSP. We're going to improve your security and, again, extend that security footprint out to your customers with audit logs, managed identities, rotation policies, tracking access reporting, full password history, logging and reporting, and multi-factor authentication. Once again, on the next slide, it's then we are allowing you to deliver password management as a service out to your end clients. We're the only brandable and resellable password management solution on the market today. And we do that through two different products on the next slide. The first product is called PassPortal Life. And if you are running a PSA, AutoTask, TigerPaw, ConnectWise, whatever it is, if you go in and look at the number of tickets that you took in last year of simple password resets, PassPortal Life provides you the ability to have Active Directory networks reset their own passwords through a simple self-service interface. We literally eliminate the ticket that an MSP takes today for a password reset. And if we expand on that a little bit, think about that as downtime. We as MSPs are always striving for the 5.9 SLA. We talk all about uptime, all about security, but simple password resets. And if we think back to the statistic I shared with you earlier, an alarming number of end users forget their passwords once or twice a year. And all of those password resets become a burden and, frankly, a cost center for the MSP. PassPortal Lite eliminates that. PassPortal Pro provides the ability for an MSP to rebrand PassPortal and deliver the full scope of functionality PassPortal delivers to you as an MSP for you to deliver to your end user. Fully brandable, identity management for all of your clients. One-click login, custom permissions, security groups, and allows each individual user to not only have and store their company password, but also provides them a personal vault. This has proven to extend not only the value and the security that an MSP is delivering to their clients, but extends your brand right into in front of every single user inside that MSP. So on the next slide, in summary, what PassPortal provides is lower cost and improved security through optimization and compliance, and increased sales through value-added service that you can now deliver with PassPortal Lite, PassPortal Pro. And very quickly, just so you're aware on the next slide, every new partner of PassPortal receives free onboarding and setup. We take care of everything. Make sure you're set up. Your Active Directory integration is done, and everything is set up and ready to go. We've had over 1,000 MSPs in 28 countries globally join PassPortal, and we'd love to extend the conversation with you as well. So I think that's it for me, Andrew. Do I have one more slide or not? I think we're going to, nope, perfect. So this is where we've talked about the hat trick.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, and Dan, you can elaborate on this, I feel that these two solutions, I've always been a network security, perimeter-based security, unified threat management. That's kind of been running through my blood now for the last couple decades. I feel that the one piece that I haven't touched that I keep seeing that bothered me was this password management. And I feel that you guys went a long way, especially the way you position it through the MSP channel. It solves a massive problem. And the two solutions together really, they give you a full encompassing technology to be able to protect customers. Now, the piece that's missing here, of course, is how do you get this out there to the customers? How do you set it up for them? How do you manage this for them? And how do you continue to provide that value to the customer? How do you provide that stickiness to make sure that customer is always coming to you? And to me, one of the big things is you make sure you secure them properly and provide them everything they need to run their business, right? And this is really the third part of the hat trick, and this is actually the scoring goal, is being able to take something that's this fundamental from a security perspective and easily apply it to your customers to be able to give them that, hey, we are your team. We're the ones that provide you not just these technical pieces, but this foundational security that your business needs to run continuously and be protected out there on the internet.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Andrew. And that point is so relevant for our partners. I mean, password management, simple password access is such a open pain point within many MSPs and specifically with end users. We all know it. We all go into the end user environment. If you're looking for a password, you can find it on a sticky note under their keypad. So, and it's such a pain, and the statistics and data from CMIT prove that pain point. So it's often nice, as we've all had to go through it in our careers, walking into an end user and selling a new solution and selling them on the concept and making them understand, whether it's cloud or virtualization or Office 365, whatever it may be. But when you can walk in and say, do you hate passwords? And you know the answer is going to be yes, that it's a pain point for them, and to deliver a new solution and new value to them immediately is really, an overdue thing for us. There hasn't been this kind of obvious pain point for many in quite some time. So we see it, and our partners are seeing it as just a huge differentiator for them.
Yeah, Dan, I saw a question here, and I feel like this is a common question around security, and especially with things moving to the cloud. And the question, I don't know if there's a quick answer to this or if there's more of a white paper that needs to be shared, but the question is, now that the passwords are being stored in the cloud, does that mean we're handing over the keys to the kingdom in a way? It's like, how does the MSP feel comfortable about doing this?
It's a very common question, and it's a single repository for the passwords. Now, there's a couple of things to consider. The first comment I would share with you is your passwords, whether by design or pure functionality, are already in the cloud. If you're running it in a PSA, if you're running it on an Excel spreadsheet that is stored on Dropbox, guess what? Your passwords are already in the cloud. So it's a common question. What is key is how they are stored in the cloud. Are they triple level encrypted? To be blunt, PassPortal does not have access to the passwords. They are all stored in an encrypted under those 7 different layers of encryption and security protocols that are in there. So they are more secure than they ever have been before. The access to them is done under a secure system. Everything is audited. What is really important, and Andrew, you touched on this a little bit, is if a password were ever to be breached within PassPortal, it is known immediately. And the fact that a password cannot be pulled in plain text makes it impossible for them in an immediate fashion to exercise a breach with a password they may have pulled because it's already encrypted. So there are, as you said, there's an enormous white paper we have on how those passwords are being stored, and if there was to be ever a breach, why it would be non-usable as a breach. It's not like an Ashley Madison situation where in literally 4 days they extracted 11 million passwords that were tied directly to users. One of the reasons they were able to do that is the number one password used by Ashley Madison users was the word password. Number two was password one. So they were unencrypted, simplified passwords and tied immediately to an application. So it's a long-winded answer, and I hope I did you some justice, but I'd be happy to share with that individual our full white paper on security.
Yeah, it goes down to the process of decrypting his passwords and everything, and that's really the big effort, right? In some cases, I remember back in the days of using Logcrack or John the Ripper, where it was a lot easier to take a Windows SAM file and run against it, and over time you come up with something, but that's more of the Ashley Madison security, where they were able to identify these passwords relatively quickly. With a system like this, it becomes a lot more complex, and it's not that simple. So if they did steal hashes of passwords, for them to be able to crack through any of those, it's not a simple effort. It's a very, very significant effort. And by the time that happens, there's all kinds of remediation that happens. So there's
and we would know that happened. Yep.
Sure. Go ahead. So there's
you summed it up perfectly. I appreciate it.
Okay. So the question is around multi-factor authentication. How that works, if there is an app, if there's a token, how does that all fit together?
Yeah. So again, multi-factor authentication is embedded in PassPortal. So I'll leave it at that. But we do. So again, password management has always been looked at from a security access standpoint and a simplification standpoint. So we have single sign-on. We have Chrome browser extensions for one-click login. We have multi-factor authentication. So all of that is available within PassPortal.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and I think part of what we want to help with is some of the education and being able to take these technologies and help you guys successfully deploy them. Because that's really like we talk about the hat trick, that's really what it is at the end of the day, is you guys being successful with these technologies to be able to properly protect your customers. We continuously do education pieces, as Dan said, just by signing up, you guys, your first deployment, you guys get the help with that to get integrated with Active Directory. They are completely involved in that. MyDigitalShield as well offers training. We make sure that you guys are engaged with us with your first setups to make sure that you guys become very good and very effective at setting up these solutions, to make sure that you guys are the pros out there. And really, we want more of our partners to become professional at what we do and good at what we do, because whenever we get end users coming to us, we want to make sure we send them to the partners that are very proficient at using our tools to make sure that they're deploying this correctly and properly and in the best manner. And at the end of the day, everybody has happy customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the cornerstone for us as well. That's why we do the free onboarding for every single new partner. We offer a 30, 60-day money-back guarantee to get started. And that is so critical. We know how busy the MSPs are and the community is as a whole. And making sure that you're able to bring in the technology, get it up, get it deployed, get it branded, and be seeing a return on investment immediately. And if you're not, obviously returning it, but that's such an important component of it.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and if anybody has additional questions after the fact about the different types of breaches we're talking about, we're happy to talk to you about those. Really, at the end of the day, we're trying to protect the data, right? We're trying to protect the hackers from getting at the data, and that involves two things. And this is kind of a summary. That involves the two things. Number one is stealing the credentials, right? Logging in and grabbing the data, impersonating the user that's allowed to do that. And the way they get at those credentials, there's a number of ways to do that, and the list keeps growing. And by having a solution like PassPortal integrated, it just really prevents all of those from happening, right? And it could be a sticky note, it could be a file that stores the password, it could be a lot of things, and that list keeps growing. But this is really a key cornerstone to prevent that access to data that shouldn't be allowed, that somebody's impersonating somebody else. And on the other side of it is, how do you prevent somebody from getting in unauthorized and riding the coattails of somebody that's viewing this information and getting the information that way. And the key to that is really keeping the bad guys out, keeping the malware out, making sure that somebody isn't clicking on links and downloading something, or somebody isn't doing something that they shouldn't be doing. And that's where My Digital Shield comes in, is bringing in the threat intelligence, being able to identify these threats, identify anytime something comes across the network that could be potentially dangerous, that could capture that information, if information is being leaked out, to block that from happening, to alarm on any time that there is any kind of infection going on, so that you guys can take action. So between these two solutions, it's really all-encompassing solution to prevent the access from to prevent access to the data, which is critical to any business, from outsiders.
Yep, no, I totally agree, Andrew. And listen, I think we're at 2:47 here on time. To learn more about the solutions, both Andrew and us at the PassPortal team would be happy to speak to you. You can visit PassPortal at www.passportalmst.com to learn more about our technology, our solution, where it came from, and the feature and functionality it is delivering to over 1,000 partners in 28 countries. And My Digital Shield is mydigitalshield.com. Again, I'd really like to thank Andrew, the founder and CEO, for taking the time to share his experience with us, and it's been a real pleasure for us here at PassPortal to work with the entire My Digital Shield team, as we're hopefully bringing more security, more value to your MSP, and extending that out to your partners. So good luck to all of your U.S. teams in the NHL playoffs, and I hope we can score a hat trick with at least our two organizations in delivering security to your clients.
I agree, and thank you very much, Dan, as well, for teaming up with us and creating this kind of ecosystem for our partners. I did see a question on pricing as well. If you reach out to our account teams, they could provide you with the pricing on the different options there. They'll be happy to do that and walk you through what it all encompasses. So thank you, everybody.
Feel free to send me. You can send me an email directly if you'd like. My email is dwensley, DWENSLEY. That is DWENSLEY at passportalmst.com. And I'll be happy to answer your questions directly, or send you off to one of the smarter people within our organization.
So that's pretty much everybody, right?
You got it, Andrew.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dan, once again, and we look forward to doing more of these, doing more educational webinars with you guys. Everybody have a wonderful Tuesday, and have a great week. Thank you.
All right. Cheers. Thanks, Andrew. Bye-bye, everybody.